and here is Mr. Pure Ambient Drone himself, James Drone. Hello, James. How you doing?
Hello. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing very, very well. What about yourself? What you been up to?
Well, I've been redoing my studio back here, and that's why there's a complete shelf here that's completely emptied out, and I am trying to figure out where I'm going to put everything.
Great stuff. Sorry, I'm just moving my computer monitor so I can see you.
So this wall of synthesizers back here is just some of my synthesizers. I have a whole bunch out in the other room, and just trying to keep everything and stack them.
Have you figured out what's going where yet? I mean, that's the ultimate head scratcher, isn't it?
Yeah, it's workflow, and I'm constantly changing my workflow. What I thought about was, this looks so pretty back here, doesn't it?
Oh, it does, yeah. Yeah, it looks great.
I think, I call it my mothership command center someday.
Yes,
so,
yes.
It's almost all rolling gear. I've got a USB back here, too. But, yeah, I was thinking about moving that stuff back here because I have a Moog 1, and you have a Moog 1.
I do.
It's a monster.
It is. It's a backbreaker, yes.
It is. I think it's 40+ pounds. Yeah, and
yes,
I could easily set it on one of these shelves, but it doesn't do it justice. It needs a table by itself.
It needs its own space. It's like it doesn't want to be undercover. It's like, I'm here. I'm the Moog 1. I'm getting my own space. So yes, I can understand that. But anyway, people in the chat room, or viewers, people that are watching at the moment, if you don't know who Pure Ambient Drone is, and I'm sure you do know who he is, he's a YouTuber, a commentator on all things synthesizer. He's a huge, passionate lover of synthesizers. He covers reviews of synths, latest news, and much more. So, for instance, if you want to check out his channel, so he's on... that's his website, which is Pure Ambient Drone, and you can listen to his music, buy his music. He's done quite a lot of music and tracks there. But also, this is where you probably may know him the most, is on YouTube. And he does a variety of different videos, as I mentioned, reviews, but also talks about things that maybe, that aren't the norm, or that everyone kind of covers. It's things about running out of space, or maybe sort of hot topics and those types of things. So it's great to have you on, James. I'm going to go back to... the double screen. So let's all kick it all off. Where did it all start for you when it came to music?
Well, I was telling you a story yesterday, and you said, that's a great story. Why don't you tell it here? I was in a rock band for a long time, and heavy metal was what I like to do. And so every now and then in my videos, people see guitars. And it's funny because keyboardists say, get rid of the guitars. And guitarists say, get rid of the synths. But a friend of mine came over who was in a pretty popular band and locally where I live. And he had noticed that I played with a lot of pedals with my guitars, and I was always mangling the sounds for my own pleasure. I mean, it wasn't something I would put in the band's music or nothing, but I would experiment on my own.
Yeah.
And he says, you know what you are? You're a synthesist. And he had far more experience in the world of music than I ever dreamed of. And he brought over a Yamaha AN1X and put the
lovely blue
on.
thing.
Put the headphones on my ears. I resisted. I'm like, I'm a rocker. You can't do this to me. And he's like, you've already done it to yourself. But, right. He puts these headphones on and he says, look, just play something. I know you can play anything. Just hit some keys. So, I knew my way around a little bit on the keyboard anyway. So I played a couple of things that I knew. And, I don't know what the patch was, but to me, it was like the gates of heaven opened up. And
yeah. The angels were singing.
It was doing crazy stuff, and I never experienced it. My idea of a keyboard prior to him coming over was a piano, a Casio.
Yes, yeah. Something with speakers built in as well, and it was the plinky plonk, blink blink plonk with organs and stuff like that. Yeah,
right. And this is a violin sound. That's not a violin. Right. And I was expecting something like that. When I got into this keyboard, wow. So I went out that same day and I bought, I couldn't find what he had.
No.
And because I had no experience, but I did find a Korg Triton LE.
Oh, right.
And
Okay.
yeah, that was my very, very first real synthesizer. And man, it served me well. I tried to learn everything I could about that one.
So did your, I mean, obviously, you know, you were in rock bands and you had the guitars and you still have the guitars, actually. So the type of music you were playing was then obviously rock music. Were you then sort of drawn into electronic music from there?
I got teased a lot as a kid. People said I listened to elevator music. And because I had the soundtrack to the Star Wars movies on vinyl, which I still do from the 70s. I still got those records, and they're like in perfect condition. And I would sit around and just listen to orchestrated music. So I always had that kind of a thing. But just like the keyboard that came into my life, I had a friend prior to this experience come over and bring a guitar. He plugged it into my stereo. We didn't have an amp. It was a bad setup. But I really, you know, I was coming of age. I was an 18-year-old kid and getting out in the world on my own. And somebody was showing me electric guitar, or not 18, I'm sorry, 13 or 14. And I just liked rock and roll. You know, I think kids go through that stage.
Yes, they do. Yeah, it's you're watching bands and they look cool, and you want to be cool because at that age, from probably 14 till whatever 19, 20, you as a guy, you're trying to find your identity, if you like. You know, some guys want to be the tough guy, some guys want to be the funny guy, others want to be the the movie star or the pop star or something like that. You know, so yeah, I can understand that. So, did you have dreams of being on stage and you know, having loads of fans scream at you?
I think every young boy with a guitar in his hand playing AC/DC, Metallica, or any of those old 80s, because I'm an 80s guy, I think any one of those kids that had a guitar back in those days was thinking about, you know, the girls screaming their names out, you know. Right. It probably would have been awkward, though, had I had the name Pure Ambient Drone, which is, you know, people call me Pad for short. A bunch of women going, Pad, Pad. Some of you may get that joke. But thankfully, I didn't have that stage name. No, I guess I went along with the group and just enjoyed, I really enjoyed the music part of it. I was more interested in the dynamics of the instrument and the music. And the fact that you could plug it into electricity and get sounds out of it. And that's what my friend recognized. He'd been in enough bands in the past and knew keyboardists, and he knew I wasn't a guitar player. He knew I was a keyboardist. A synthesist, as he said. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, what you were telling me yesterday and what you've been saying there, it seems like that you have not necessarily, well, not just an ear for the instrument, whether it's a guitar or going onto keyboard, but you have an ear for sound in general. So you were using these instruments to then, which, you know, besides an amp, you know, they're kind of traditional in some way, but then you use the pedals to completely mash up that sound. So it was like that, a cliche, but a journey into sound was the thing that kind of drew you further. The fact that a synthesizer was in a keyboard format was neither there or here or there, really. It was the sound that was my impression when you were telling me.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. So now you have a YouTube channel, and you're up to about 4,000 subscribers. Hopefully, you know, you'll get some more from here. What was the whole idea of YouTube and going to set that up?
Okay, so a disclaimer here. I'm a super honest person. I wear my feelings on my sleeve. I'm a real person. And I felt when I first started my channel, I had to do what other people were doing. So I got into some jam sessions and I was trying to like mimic others because I thought that's how it was done. I wasn't trying to copy or steal anybody's ideas. But I didn't feel like I was being me. Yeah. And this is going to sound crazy, but I was watching a reality show with my wife, and we all know those are fake, right?
Yeah.
But one of them turned out to be so obviously fake that it disgusted me. And I looked over at my wife and I said, "How come nothing's real in this world? Why has everybody got to be fake? You think you know these people on television? They want you to believe that you can know them, but nobody really becomes the same person when you meet them in person. They're not the same." And she said, "You preach to the choir. Why don't you just get a phone?" Because I had a horrible phone, dummy phone. She says, "Why don't you get a phone and make some vlogs and talk about your adventures?" Because I was talking ear off about my daily adventures. My wife supports me, but she doesn't really care to hear as much as I talk about synthesizers.
No, of course not. No.
Right. So for my birthday, she got me a phone. And she said, "Look, I love you. I like hearing you. But sometimes you need to tell it,
Yeah, tell it,
right,
take it to
people that are connecting with you, because it seems like you got a passion for this." So that's what I started doing. I started logging on my phone and just talking about stuff. And this is a lonely journey, wouldn't you say?
Oh, it is, yeah. I mean, I started my channel 2006, and it was one of those like voices of God, where you'd see my hands, but you wouldn't see me in there. And there might be one video, once every 6 months or something. So, but when you're not thinking about people watching it or people that are actually watching this now. You're just like a guy in a room, aren't you? So,
yeah. And what I mean by a lonely journey, my connection is the machines for me, my music is a connection to human beings. I wasn't getting that in my studio. I felt alone. I felt like I want to know the people.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's a very. I think many people in the chat room, the viewers can note. If you're doing electronic music, especially, and you're an artist or, doing it on your own, then you're only bouncing ideas off yourself. It's different when you're in a band, because you have your certain role within a band, and that's it. Sometimes you may give ideas to the drummer or whatever. Usually drummers are nutters, so you'll get a load of drumsticks thrown at you. But you're right, in a sort of producers, it's a very kind of you have to isolate yourself. And of course that does have downsides. If you're the type of person that bounces off energy of lots of people to keep you happy and things like that, self-isolation might not be the right thing for you. But yeah, it is. And you're learning things as you go along, and you want to talk about it, don't you? Obviously.
Yeah. The guy that I told you about that got me into synthesis, he passed away, and the only other person I knew with his kind of experience was his younger brother. And before I started doing my vlogs, I called him up with something with my mixer not doing something right. And, he was telling me how he had similar problems and he didn't know how to answer them. And just talking to him, it opens my mind a little bit when I talk about my problems to people. And I came to a solution with him just by talking. And, I thought, that's great to have someone to talk with. And I think a lot of times people that collect all this gear, they become so involved in it that they isolate themselves, like you said. And they start thinking inside the box rather than outside the box.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. It's a good point. It depends on the type of person that it might not be good for your own mental health, really. Sort of isolating yourself. Again, that really sort of depends on the person. Some people need to be around lots of people to recharge their energy. Some people, it drains them to be around loads of people. So there's no right or wrong in that, is there?
No,
I guess.
no. I guess what I'm thinking. Go ahead.
So you're kind of you'd watched other shows. You felt the need that you wanted to put over your point of view. So you started it by, essentially looking at what worked around on the internet and then doing that, but then realised, well, this isn't me. I'm just going to be myself now. So that's how you've kind of continued, really, with your YouTube channel. You're yourself. So
yeah, what you see is what you get.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Good and bad.
Yeah, I mean, everyone can see right through whether someone's been, if they're being paid for, and there's nothing wrong with being paid for doing a job, if it's doing well. I mean, as we know, a lot of reviewers, You know, they're getting sent equipment to review it. It's part of the selling process, you know. We have that with everything. You choose to watch it or not, really, I suppose. I'm like you, I buy everything myself, and, you know, so... but I've got nothing against people getting sent things to review it. I mean, you know, it's just the way it is. Sometimes
I agree.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I'm not a salesperson. I mean, end of the day, I'm a sound designer, and I just do this, you know, once a week just for the hell of it, really. But
yeah.
Anyway, enough of me. We'll get back to some more sort of questions, but we'll go into things in the news. I have been kind of keeping an eye on the chat just a little bit. Some people are going off on the Moog one, whether it's worth it or not. You know, whether it costs too much. We were talking about this actually yesterday, weren't we? But yeah, we're never going to win with that one. For me, well, the thing is, I mean, I bought it because, well, I'll tell you what I was telling you yesterday. I'm a sound designer. Synths are my tools to make sounds on, and I watched a video. What's his name? I can't remember his name. Who's the really techie guy at Moog? Amos. That's the fella. Amos. It was a couple of years ago. They'd said they sold, or a year or so ago, they sold 1,200 Moog ones at that point, and I thought, I wonder if I do a bank of patches for that, and I can get a certain percentage, then that will help to pay for my Moog one. And that was all I thought about. So that's why I got one. Now, if I wasn't a sound designer and I was back doing my job that I was doing before, would I have bought one? Probably not. I'd have probably spent it and bought a nice decent car or something instead of the 2006 piece of junk that I drive. So, you know, that's how it is. But anyway, we're going to go on to a bit of news, and here's a bit of things that have come through from Behringer that popped up during the week. Was this mock-up here that they're working on, which they're calling it the Pro 800, which is actually, by the looks of things, the Pro 1 times 8 in terms of the voices. Now, I was a little bit confused on what they were trying to mimic with, because obviously they've got these membrane buttons, which are absolutely horrible because they snap and everything. Excuse me. I remember the JX8P had them, and they'd work sometimes. But I was thinking whether it was the Pro 8, the sequential Pro 8 they were copying, or the Split 8 they used to call it, or something. But that was not necessarily sequential. But then there seems to be, I wonder if I can find it. I did Pro Synths. I wonder if I did find a video. No, I don't think I did. Oh, well, I did find a video, but in fact, I'm going to go search for one now. Just give me 1 second while I find. It was the sequential Prophet 600. So, guys, in the chat room, if you've got any questions for James, then by all means ask away, and I'll put them through. But I'm just going to find this Prophet. Yeah, it's a bit of retro sound. He seems to be the man to go to for all.
Power your mornings with Belvita's delicious biscuits, loaded with energy and made with 5 whole grains.
It's only made of 5 whole grains. It won't be very big, will it? Oh, well, never mind. So here's a bit of the Prophet 600. And you can see the membranes on it. So there's that. And then we skip to Behringer's. Move it on a bit. So it looks like it's going to be an 8 voice of one of these, though it looks like it's going to be in maybe the same form factor as, if I can find the right page, I don't know. Is that going to be the same form factor as like the Neutron or something, or is it going to be bigger? Not too sure. But anyway, James, what do you think of this coming through in the gossip line?
It's going to be a module, it looks like.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. You know, a lot of people think, I don't know, I've been accused of being like on the payroll of Behringer, you know, because I hardly ever
they don't pay anyone.
No.
Not in the press anyway. And no, I'm not talking about recent news. I mean, like paying for adverts and things like that.
Allegedly. I think they got that kind of idea because they had featured me on some of their videos and they're commented on my videos, and they thought, well, you know, if they're on his channel and he's on their channel, maybe he's got something going. But I'm super honest what I think about synthesizers, and I don't let anybody, you know, influence that decision with money or anything. I think what Behringer's doing is great, but I get a lot of feedback from people. People email me, they talk with me on Facebook. I think the biggest complaint Behringer needs to listen to, because their slogan is "We hear you," is get away from these modules and start making key beds. Because a lot of people are screaming, "Look, I love the space, but give me an option of a keyboard as well. I've only got so many MIDI controllers that I can hook up to all of this stuff, and I don't want to have to switch back and forth. I just want a key bed." And they're really screaming for authentic remakes of these synthesizers as well. I guess what I mean is, why can't we have a 600? I owned one of those, by the way, probably 600.
All right.
And it's a beautiful machine. Why can't we have a remake of that? They're glorious. They're beautiful to touch. They're beautiful to interact with. You're not getting that experience, in my opinion, with the module, but that's me. That's just me. And if that's not your goal, if all you want to do is produce, carry these on the stage, then that's for you. But for people like myself, who I love to interact with the synthesizer as a whole, I'd love to see a complete remake. And I think some people, lots of people, were hoping that they were going to make like a real Juno 106 or a Juno 60 that looks sort of like one. Sort of like what they did with the RD8, the RD9s. They're very similar to the original. And that's why they're so popular.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's it. We've been crying out for those for decades.
Right. Yeah, our eyes have something to do with how we interact with what we have.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Right. And like we were talking about the spaceship back here behind me. I mean, it looks cool. It's awesome. And it generates all kinds of neat ideas for me when I'm making, you know, wild space music or whatever I want to do.
Yeah, it puts you in a certain mood, a certain frame of mind to do things. Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I mean, personally, I prefer synthesizers with keys in because it's so much easier to make sounds on. Rather than, you know, using a different controller where the aftertouch might not translate onto somebody else's. If it's in one keyboard, then I can do all the assignments and I know it's going to sound like that for everybody. But that's just my... Yeah, for me, that works. Right. I can see the flip side of it in that if you've got a lot of keyboards and space is a premium, the modules and what the modules seem to have from Behringer, what the advantage that they do have, if I can go back to the screen. Not so sure about this because I can't really see them, but the other ones, things like the neutrons and so on, are the CV patch points, and the fact that you can take them out of the case and put them in a Eurorack case. And that's the unique selling point of the modules to me.
And that's great. And they should, you know, I guess what I'm saying is keep that going. You don't have to stop that.
Yeah, but do them. For polysynths, it really needs to have the choice of a keyboard with it, really. So yeah, hopefully they will. This is just like the membrane for the control panel or something. So it's got the switches there. It looks like it's got ADSRs, 2 of them there. That's probably the filter sections. But then again, no, this is going to be rack mount because you've got a MIDI connector there, and it looks like patch points there, 4 of them. This looks like to me that it is going to be a module. Otherwise, you put MIDI on the back, and that's the USB board. So this looks like it's been made for the same form factor as things like the Neutron. Don't know, could be totally wrong, but Yeah, interesting. Interesting nonetheless. But okay, so I'm going to kind of carry on. So how would you kind of describe yourself, though, really? Would you describe yourself as a musician first, producer, reviewer? What would you say? If someone says to you in a bar, you know, so James, what is it that you do?
I make music. I make music. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the first thing you think of. That's your kind of identity. I'm a musician.
Yeah, I don't even tell anybody here locally where I live that I'm even on YouTube. I don't feel a need for that. I like to make music, and this is my outlet. So I mean, this, you know, I know I said this already, but this is real. I mean, it's like here I am making music, and I'm talking about my adventures along the way.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think one of the most, I will tell you something that bothers me the most, and it's just my opinion. I don't like people selling me synthesizers when they don't produce music. It really bothers me when I see people telling me all these things I can do, but they don't produce music themselves. I don't see the point in telling me about something if you haven't really used it. And I'll tell you why. For those of us who rode bikes, you can be told about all you want about, hey, this is a great bike, and here's the brakes and all this. And someone can tell you about it, but if they've never rode that bike, they don't know exactly how it's going to perform once you get on it. And you might find things wrong with that bike that could crash you into a tree or anything.
Of course, yeah.
Right, so no real world experience with a synthesizer making music. I think that's how crap synthesizers come out of production, and there's so many problems with them. When I use the word crap, I mean like there's things broken on them, like, oh, we're the beta tester now. There's all kinds of things wrong with this because nobody made music with it. They took these guys and said,
it's not used in the it's not used in the real world or used in anger. You know, people on stage or stuff like that. I mean, you know, we all see through everything, and I mean, whether I like it or not, I'm part of the music industry, and you are as well, with what you do. I mean, your views on a synthesizer and what you know, you're asking the audience in some of your videos, you're talking about the latest synths and stuff. You are part of it. Unfortunately, there's no financial kickback to you. But, you know, of course, there are people who are paid. Well, I wouldn't say paid, but maybe they either work for the press, you know, for a magazine or something like, or online magazine, and they get paid and then they review it, or the third party and they get synthesizer based upon how they are. I mean, end of the day, when you've got people like Loopop who's reviewing synthesizers, I mean, these are like video manuals. I mean, they're the fantastic videos to watch. I don't dive into a manual now. I just watch his videos, but he also throws in some good tips as well.
Yeah.
And people like, you know, and there's lots of others, but I mean, it's all just part of the industry, really.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, end of the day, you might get a knock on the door or an email sent to you saying, okay, I'm such a company, we want to send you our synths to demonstrate. So, I mean, you know.
Well, it's happened. It's happened.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's a string attached to it. And I don't like those strings, but that's just for me. And there's nothing wrong with people and channels that actually do that. And that's not what I mean. I'm talking about a very, very select few that sound like infomercials. And it's like, hey, you got to get this because when you twist this knob, it does that, it does this. And for instance, somebody left a comment, and this goes along with what we're saying. They're like, I got to listen to your music again because the quantum doesn't sound like it belongs. So you can't see it here, but off screen I got quantum.
Yeah.
They're like, the quantum doesn't sound like you would use it in your music. And I don't know. I think this person who commented this, he's always on my channel. I think he owns one, so he would know what it sounds like. So he's going to go back and listen. But he's got a point about what he's saying. The quantum isn't for everybody.
No, of course not. No.
And you wouldn't know that by some of the reviews. And I think I was one of the first people that were saying this is a unique synthesizer. That doesn't make it better. It doesn't make it worse. But it is unique. And you've got to be able to find a place in your music for a quantum. And it's just a guy getting up there saying, look, I can twist these knobs and make the sound break. That's great. But
I know what you mean.
Yeah, have you used this thing? Have you drove it around the block and see how it feels when you right when you open it up? I mean, you're just
I
showing me
mean,
what it can do in the
yes.
driveway.
No, you're
Right.
right. You're right. I mean, I think that is one of the problems, I suppose, of being part of the industry. In that they sent something, they might not necessarily be able to keep it. They may only have it for a couple of days. So in those couple of days, they got to learn it and send it back. I mean, I got there was a guy, he made this little box for the OB6 and Prophet 6, the LFE, something he made himself, and he asked me to review it, and in return, he said I could get some money off one. But he drove down here, left it with me, and I did the video overnight, and then he picked it back up the next day. So, you only have a limited time. I mean, I couldn't have done that if it was a synthesizer, but if it was as it was with this small module, and I still didn't really do that justice. So, so you're right. I mean, some people, things like the Quantum, it's a very deep synthesizer, and if you're only spending a couple of days with it, you're not really saying to people what it is. It's experience, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, the first thing I do when I get a synthesizer, and a lot of people don't know this about me, because they always say, what makes a good synth? The first thing I do with the synthesizer, after I hook it up and everything, it's into my DAW system, I try to make music with it. If I cannot feel comfortable making music with it within a couple of weeks or so, actually shorter than that, if it's not speaking to me, if it's not blending with my other stuff, I almost know immediately this isn't for me. Doesn't make it a bad synth. It just, I got great friends that I wouldn't always invite in one gathering because they're great over here and over there, but sometimes I wouldn't put them in the same room.
No.
And right, you see what I mean? They're still great friends, but they don't always mingle so great together.
Yes,
like
I know what you mean.
Couple. Right. And so the first thing I do to find out if I want a synth is, can I make music with this? I mean, I care about the noise factor and what things can do and what you can twist out of something. But at the end of the day, I've got to be able to use this because my passion is to make music. And somebody on the comments here, can't see it now, they said, yeah, I agree, more music. We need more music. We do. We need more music and less noise in this industry. What can this thing do?
All I do is make noise.
Yeah, you do. Well, what you're doing is great too. I mean, you're like the preset god out there. I drop your name anywhere.
I know you said that to me yesterday. That was really nice of you. I really don't feel like that.
It's true.
No. I'm just a bloke in a room who twiddles around with a few knobs who misses. Yes, no. I mean, hopefully because I'm moving out of this place, as you can, I've spoken about.
Moving sucks, doesn't it?
Oh, it's been doing my brain in because probably about 6 weeks ago, I'd got these panels to soundproof in this room, and they were so heavy. And I was supposed to get some help off my brother, but he didn't turn up. And so I decided I'm time limits. I'll do them myself, and they were so heavy. The next day, I ended up with pains in my neck, and then all of a sudden, I started to lose my ability to walk and numbness in my hands, and I've still got that now. Still got numbness in my hands, so it's easing off slowly, but it's been a good old 6 weeks. So the room has had to take a back seat, though I did post some pictures earlier on today of showing how my room is going on, just as a... It was you, because we were talking about, you've done like this video of moving around your studio, so I thought, I'll take some pictures. And if I can find what I did... What have I done with it now? So if I go to something like that, and then go to my pictures. So I post it in ProSynth Network. So here is one of my pictures. Hopefully people can see. So it's just Jasper stands everywhere. And I've got a fair few there. And then I've got CV Corner, which I've called CV Corner. But as you can see, that's the other end of it. So it's been trying to get this all sorted out. And as soon as I can do that, then I can get down and start doing some more videos. But it's been a slog trying to do it.
Yeah, it looks like you're going to be a little cramped in that room. That's what people said about my space.
It's smaller than this room that I'm in now, but the thing is, you know, this is a council.
That's nice.
Yeah, it's a weird shaped building, this room. So where I am now, at least that one, it is smaller, but it's a better shape. So, but anyway, enough about what I'm up to. Going back to yourself, about your setup. You posted this video yesterday. In fact, I will play a little bit of it so people know exactly what I'm talking about. Your studio redo. Just push this now.
Happy Mother's Day.
Hey, I know people in your chat room. Before you say anything, yes, I need ad block.
Hey there, Synth Drones. Today we're going to be talking about studio redo. Hi, I'm Pure Ambient Drone. This is my channel where I vlog about synthesizers. Hit the subscribe button, tap the bell, keep up with my synth adventures. I'm including you guys in this small little video here today because I want your opinions. I want to give you a...
So there's a bit of a latest video from you. I mean, you mentioned earlier on, your first one was the Triton LE. What's your journey in the synthesizer world been from then till now?
Well, you know, I did a video called I Quit, and I couldn't believe the response I got from that. Tell a story about how my wife left, and I was robbed. I mean, all of my gear was stolen. And, man, I quit literally for years. My dream was broken. I think that's the worst thing a person can do to you, or you allow a person to do to yourself. I got to be there.
Yeah.
That you allow a person to take your dreams from you, that you give up. You may never reach your dream, but I guess that's why they're dreams. But actually, the reset helped me out a lot because I knew I didn't want to get any of the synthesizers I ever owned while I was with this person. That's how bad the hurt was. So I vowed never to buy one of the synthesizers I owned during that relationship. I know that's just because, you know, there's things attached to these machines. We become one.
Oh God, yeah.
With these. Yeah.
Well, it's the sacrifice getting them, isn't it? It's like, yeah, your neighbours have got all the latest cars and all this sort of stuff.
Yes.
I mean, you know, I mean, people think I'm loaded and everything like that. It's 30 years of buying and selling synths. That's what it is. Yeah. And then running a business that, you know, and GEOSynths is an official business, and you know they're tools for the job. So, but that's the thing, isn't it? Once you've had you've got a collection of fair bit of gear, you sell something, add a little bit of money, you've got a new synth. It's the way it goes, isn't it?
Yeah, and we fall into traps. I talk about gear addiction on my channel.
Yes.
Everybody is, and nobody is immune to this unless you're
I'm certainly not.
Right, and even poor people find a way to get synthesizers. I've learned that about synth. I call my people synth drones.
Synth drones, yeah.
That's my nickname for my people. And,
sure, yeah.
Synth drones find a way to get synthesizers. Even the poor ones, they do, because I've talked to enough of them. I mean, they'll go without eating for a week if they can buy the latest synth that they want. They don't care.
exactly, yeah.
And you can fall into that trap of gear hoarding and addiction. And anybody can, especially when I did quite well licensing music and writing music and selling albums. And that addiction makes you want to buy more toys for your craft. I know you had to have thought about some things that you could buy. Well, you said you bought the Moog One because you could, and you thought, well, this would be my
for
craft.
The work. Well, I mean, it was for the job. Half of the synths I've got, I've bought for the job, which is making sounds. If I was just back doing my full-time job that I used to do, I wouldn't have bought them. Simple as that.
Right. So you don't suffer from gas, but a lot of people do suffer. Oh, you do suffer from gas?
I do suffer from gas.
Okay.
I mean, you know, I don't have to buy these synths, but I do. But it just so happens, you know, I mean, you know, that's the thing. You know, I don't get sent them, so I have to buy them to make the sounds. And
sure,
hopefully the Volume 1 of the sounds over a certain period of time will then pay for itself. And then I start to earn something off volume 2. That's always the plan, but it doesn't always work out.
No, it doesn't.
I'm very frugal in everything else that I do. So
me too.
Yes.
Do you ever think about, well, I need to buy this, but I could use that money to buy a synthesizer?
Oh yeah, everything is measured in synth money. You know, if I need to, if I buy a washing machine, I had to buy a tumble dryer because mine packed in, and it was like I could have got myself like another Behringer Neutron for that. Everything is measured in synths. And but that's it's 30 years I've been doing this, and
I'm laughing because I can see what the wash machine is not working right. And you're like, me clothes smell a little bad, but I can get another sense and all just wearing dirty clothing.
All right, I didn't know I was a Londoner back in the 1800s. Oh, I gaff now.
Is all you get.
Oh, I gaff now, mate. I clean the chimney sweep.
I'll go a little bit dirty with the clothes and I'll buy another synthesizer, right? Who needs a wash machine?
Oh, God. Lovely.
Man,
Yes.
That's horrible. But
no,
I've done the same thing. It's like,
yes.
The wheel fell off the car, but I've got 3 more left.
Yeah, no, that's exactly how I am. It's very, frugal the way that I kind of live and everything. And speaking of, I'm a single fella, so don't have the family thing, so it's just myself to look after. And my thing has always been synthesizers. Like I say, I have a 2006 crappy old car. It gets me where I need to go, so I don't need to spend 30, 40 grand on, a BMW or whatever. Many people do. So, but yeah. Anyway, going back to that, so you've gone through the sort of Triton, and now you've got a whole range of different synthesizers. What's been your sort of favourite synth that you've bought? And
yeah, I'm glad you're asking that question because a lot of people think like I'm an analog snob. Because I have had a lot of analog gear. I love analog. There's nothing wrong with analog. My favorite, this is going to shock a lot of people. It's going to blow a lot of people away. I'm loving my Phantom from Roland, the 2019 version.
Yeah.
Man, I'm addicted. It's a very unique machine. It's got everything I've been looking for. It's got the sequencer. It talks to all my gear. If someone came in and said, you can only keep one synthesizer, the Phantom's staying. There's just no way about it. I love this machine, and I could get rid of everything but that one. That's how strongly I feel about it. But that's for me. It wouldn't be for everybody else. Some people pick this up, absolutely will hate it. They won't like the sound, maybe. I don't know. They'll find things that they won't like about it. I know they would, because I get feedback, okay? But yes, this is my favorite. I would pick this over the Moog one. And I know that sounds terrible. And I know people are like, he's crazy. But
no,
remember,
not at all.
I'm into, pardon?
I said, no, not at all. You're not crazy at all. We're all different. It's sometimes it can be too much of if you look at 2 synthesizers and you look at the spec sheets of each one, this one's got more specs, therefore it must be better. It's not. It's got to talk to you. If you play a synth and it just makes you feel good and it sounds good and makes you want to work with it and play it and enjoy it, then that's the right synth for you. It doesn't matter whether it's analog or whatever. And let's face it. I mean, there hasn't really been a lot of bad synths over the past 5-6 years. There hasn't. No. And all it is just maybe things in the user interface might not be great. I mean, the good thing about the Roland, the new stuff, we were talking about this yesterday, was the fact that all of them share the same engine, so then the sounds will work on both. Now, to me, that the bulb of GEOSynths lights up and goes, oh, I should be making patches for this. But, I haven't actually tried any of them, so I don't know. But yeah, it's whatever synth speaks to you.
Yeah. Well, Roland gives away a lot of free patches anyway.
Yes, they do.
Was it Axial?
Was it Axial, Roland Axial?
Yes, and Phantom's on there now too, and you can download just dozens of them, and it's like, I'm just speaking as a user for myself. I wouldn't be out there searching for any. It would have to be really something different than what Roland's doing. They got a patch of some classic synthesizers on there that I have loaded in my Phantom. And there's days where I look at this, this can be daunting. I think anybody that has enough gear knows. I'm hooking up preamps. I run all my stuff through tube amps and then through a DI. And then I'm rewiring some stuff. And there's days I look at this and I'm like, oh, I can't take it. I just want to use the Phantom.
Yes.
And I am so tempted, I'm not lying, sometimes just to sell everything and just keep the Phantom sometimes, because it is daunting to, well, look what you're doing. You're moving how many days now?
Oh, it's taken me forever. Yeah.
It's depressing, isn't it? I don't know if depressing is the right word, but discouraging, overwhelming.
It is overwhelming. But then again, like I say, I mean, it's just for the job. I see it as, well, at least I'm saving myself a few hundred on rent for this place. So,
yes, you will be making money on that.
It works out that way. I mean, it's not like I'm doing it every single sort of week. But it's funny, actually, earlier on, we were kind of talking about self-isolation. Who was it? I think it was Wag who said, well, in self-isolation, we only have to smell good for the postman. So I really like that comment. So thanks very much for that, Wagyu. Okay, so going over to some other news, and we'll get back to some more questions for James in a moment. And what have we got? Oh yeah, there was the Synthmania got hold of Novation Summit, and he's been playing through and doing a review of that.
And these functions are programmable and vary by patch. Here's the octave up and down.
So he's done that kind of review. Have you been interested at all in the Peak and the latest Summit?
Yes? I had a Peak. I thought it was the Peak I'm talking about real quick. Thought it was a little bit too close to the Rev 16 that I had, the Rev 2, sorry.
Okay.
I got a little close to that, and I had a little bit of overlap. I no longer have the Rev 2 anymore either. I let that go. I've let a lot of synths go because of the Phantom.
Okay.
People that just don't produce music as much as I do, I can write about 50 tracks in a month because I do music licensing as well.
Yes.
And I need something that I can produce quick on, and it sounds good, and I don't have to hassle with a lot of stuff. And I just didn't need all of that once I got the Phantom. The Phantom can emulate a lot of these things. But I will say this, the Summit is probably, in my opinion, from what I've heard of it, one of the best sounding hybrid synthesizers I've ever experienced. I haven't played it one, but experienced it over the net. I believe it's a hybrid, right? I mean, it's kind of like digital.
Yeah, it's digital for the oscillators, and it's two peaks in one, but and you can use them as two layers, but also there's some extra filtering involved, so you can use you can filter in between, and you can use two filters, one in series, so you can have like a band pass and going into a low pass and things like that. So it's very it's a lot more flexible. It's really awesome.
I find myself gassing for it once in a blue moon, and I haven't pulled the trigger. Well, I'm gonna confess something here. I did buy it once, and I canceled the order. I bought it again and canceled it again. I don't know why. I don't really need it is the problem. But if I didn't have everything I already got, you're only seeing part of my setup here.
Yes.
You would see me with it. But I just got so many things to pick from, I don't need it.
You seem to have frozen at the moment. We can hear you okay.
Yeah, I think so.
But you seem to have frozen. I'm not too sure why that would be. Oh, there you are. You're back. You're back. There must be some buffering on the internet. Maybe the ocean in between has got in the way or something.
But, we were talking about the Moog One, and a lot of people have questions. I did a video, and I shouldn't bring this up, but it's still on my channel. We talked about this yesterday, that I felt that, the Moog One was very expensive. I'm not saying it's not worth it, but it's very expensive for people to purchase a Moog 1.
Hmm.
And I found mine for a 16 voice for around $6,000 in, I mean, perfect mint open box condition. I mean, the person I bought it from just did not use it. And
No.
I got it in this 16 voice for about 6,000. The candy was still in the box. People that are familiar with Sweetwater, this is where the person bought it from. They told me they did. Their candy was still in the box. It's still out of warranty. They were going through a rough time. They needed the money, and I saw that, and I knew it wasn't going to last. And I think the Moog 1 is an iconic synth that 10, 20 years from today, people are going to wish they picked up, because it's like a Rolls Royce, a Cadillac, a Mercedes Benz of synthesizers. It's fabulous. It's fabulously built. It's beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, I think the thing is with something like the Moog 1, it is a one-off, and you're not going to see them all the time. Maybe, Behringer aren't going to do anything like it, even though it's always in the comments of the Moog 1 videos. It's like, oh, wait until Behringer does. Yeah, okay. The thing is, that for me, it's the scale of it.
Huge.
If you make like one or two sounds in a day, great. But if you're like me and you're making hundreds of them, it needs to just work, and it does for me. The scale of it. Someone's asking me in the chat room about the Roland XM, or if I'm going to do patches for the Wave State. The Wave State looks to me fine if you're just doing one or two patches, but doing like say 100 or 128 or whatever. Knowing Korg, it probably doesn't have banks on it. So doing 100 and then all of that click, click, click into, getting into the it'd do my head in. And even though, I do a lot of synths and I get very deep with them, I don't enjoy the ones that are more menu pages than it needs to. So, and with the Moog 1, yes, it's very extensive, but a lot of it is just right there in front of you. And
it is. And I think synth companies have finally listened to us when we're hollering about, we want everything on the box. I mean, we want to be able to reach down and control these things. I just did a video on the System 1M, and it is so intuitive. I mean, you just start twisting stuff and sound happens. And it's, to me, one of the best choices for modular, and it's digital. And it sounds absolutely fantastic. In a mix, I don't know if anybody can really tell the difference, but I mean, people sometimes say they can, but music is music, and I don't care how it's done as long as I'm enjoying listening to it.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, I mean, I don't really do a lot of music, and of late, since I've been doing GEOSynths, really. I did before, but that's mainly because it's a job. So I come in, I spend my day, make the sounds. Do about 10 in a day. My ears just go by then, so then that's it. I'll go home. Might be a little bit different, but same with people into modular. It's not necessarily the end result. It's the journey, the going through it, that is the bit they enjoy. And so yeah, each to their own, I guess. But
Sasquatch on the comment says synths can't have too many knobs or buttons.
Yeah, and no, it's very true. It's very true.
Yeah, you're right. If you have a knob per function synth, you could get overwhelmed. But I had a Wave station. Anybody listening, watching this video, ever have a Wave station? Believe me, you would wish for those knobs, because nobody wants to program through this little screen and try to get that thing to do what they wanted. Some may like that. I don't know. I personally would not like that. But
also, it's like you were saying yesterday. Some people like that tone, some don't. You love the Moog tone, and I certainly do. Yeah. What kind of misconceptions do people have about you and what it is that you do?
I don't know. I think the worst thing I've ever been accused of is Behringer puppet or something. I talk a lot about Behringer. I think that's the biggest misconception is. Somehow I call Behringer up and they tell me what to say. I really don't get a whole lot of negativity whatsoever on my channel. I vlog about synthesizers. I'm not a teacher. I'm not necessarily a reviewer. I'm an opinion columnist kind of like guy.
So it was like a commentator. I think I kind of described you as.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're not a reviewer. It's not. You're commenting on the news and things like that. It's your own point of view. Yeah.
And I guess my point of view is I'm coming at the audience of, hey, I'm one of you. I don't always own what I'm talking about, but I'm going by the same information you did. Let's all add to this. What did I miss? I like to include the community. I don't talk at my audience. I talk with my audience.
Yeah.
I try to reply. Yeah, I try to reply to everything, but that warrants to be replied to. But my channel is more like we're a community. We respect one another. We love our craft, and we don't have the answers. Let's explore it. And so there's a lot of philosophy.
Yes.
On my channel, which you don't get with other channels. It's like a lot of other channels are like, here, this is what it is. And
you don't have to think. Yeah, you don't have to think about it much. You just hit play, and it's a review, and you just sit there and listen to it. I mean, it seems to be a bit of a trend where the manufacturers are having NDAs with reviewers, and they all have to put it out at the same time. And I don't really like that. I like how you'll get one off one person on 1 week, and then maybe a few days later somebody else. They trickle out. It kind of helps grow your anticipation rather than it all just be dumped at once. But that's the way it is. It's all influencers these days. So the way of the world.
when I talk with people one-on-one, and it could be on the phone, it could be private messaging. There's a lot of people out there that have a fear to give their real opinion about a synthesizer because there's trolls, and there's some people you can never say anything negative about a synth. And I don't think there's any bad synthesizers. I mean, no. I used to have Casios. I said my first was the Triton LE, but I've had a little Casio before. If that counts, I don't know. Does that count?
Oh God, yeah. I had.
It counts, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think what was it? I had a Yamaha
piano.
I had a Yamaha. Well, I started when I was, I got into this. Like I was saying yesterday, late 80s. I had a pair of decks. Because I was all into the house music and scratching and all that type of thing. And a pair of decks, a Casio RZ1 or RZ1 for our English friends, which had the 4 sample pads. So I used to sample bass sounds into that. And I had a Casio SK1 sampler, and and that was it. That's how I built my demos, and I wrote all my drum beats out on graph paper. And then took it to a studio over in Birmingham in the UK, getting on the bus to go there, to record these tracks. I had no idea what I was doing. And that's how I kind of got into it. But I had like a Yamaha, what was it, a PSS 680 or something like that. I had these blue drum pads on the front. And that was before I had a real synth, which was the DX7 Mark II. And I had that for 2 weeks and took it back because I couldn't get my head around it at all. And then I bought a brand new Roland D10 for £895. No, £895 back in 1989, and I've still got it.
Yeah,
well, I wouldn't be able to sell it. I'd have to give someone money to take it off my hands. I think.
Yeah, right. Or take it to the trash. Yeah. I talk with people, and they tell me, they say, I bought this because the review said it did this and it did that and it did this, and it does. They're correct. But then I look at it and I say, I never use those things. It becomes overwhelming in choices. And I don't need it to do all those things, because when it does those things, I can't make it work for my music. And I think sometimes people pick the wrong synthesizer based on the wrong, for the wrong reasons. I mean, because you can doesn't mean you need it. And I'll give you a point so I can make myself clear. When I was young, I bought a Mustang. And I live here in the Midwest in America, and it snows. And I lived on a dirt road. And the dirt road had potholes and hills and you name it. When it snowed, I couldn't go anywhere with this Mustang. It's an old school Mustang. They used to be rear wheel drive.
Yeah, so you're
in the front.
Yeah.
Right. And I couldn't go anywhere in the winter.
Yeah.
And I had this beautiful car with all this speed, all this power, parked every time it even so much, it got a little icy out because it had so much power. Because I actually got it all souped up and made it go faster and did things to it because I was young and dumb, and I don't think it's dumb to do that. I think it's cool, but I wanted it cool. And I think people buy synthesizers sometimes like that. You know, look at this. I could launch to the moon, you know, or I could go to Mars. I could go to Jupiter. But really, all you want to do is stay here on Earth and float a little bit.
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, the advice I seem to see from people is who want to get into synthesizers is people will say, well, buy like a cheap little monosynth. And it's like, well, you can have a bit of fun for a few weeks and then that's it. I always say buy a synth that you can afford, you know, but buy the best that you can afford, because it'll keep your interest. Of course, back in the day when I was doing it, it was late 80s, coming out of the whole analog and days and going into digital. Back then, we wanted all the sleek synthesizers. We didn't want the ones with knobs. The ones with knobs all looked like the things that your dad used to use, you know, where you know, we didn't know what we were doing. The future was this things with screens on it and everything. So that's why back then things like Jupiter 8s were like £500 or £600, you know, in UK pounds money. But you know, it all sort of changed. But I'd say now, yeah, if people are getting into a synth, they want an analog synth. If they know as much as that, get the best that you can afford. It'll keep your interest.
I think you and I were talking about that yesterday. I think you said you like the OB6.
Oh, I love the OB6. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, maybe that isn't the right one for your first synth. I mean, that type of tone anyway. You know, it's a kind of... but, I mean, end of the day, I always recommend the DeepMind 12 to everybody. I think that's a cracking synthesizer for the money.
I tell people that all the time. And the biggest complaint about the DeepMind 12, I always hear this, and you probably do too, is that there is some menu diving, and you don't have to, but sometimes there is. And if Behringer would go back to the drawing board a little bit, take that screen off, and make something closer to a Juno 6 or 60, I should say, or even a 106, which a DeepMind 12 pretty much is, right?
Sorry, I got distracted there. Somebody in the chat room said, Deviceology, yes, GEOSynths. I used to camp out at Don Christie's for fresh pressings. That's exactly where I used to get all my refinal from. Don Christie's in Birmingham. I used to be there on a Saturday in the morning before a guy even showed up. It was like a store that sold records. It was like known for reggae music, but they got all the fresh sort of house imports and everything. So, thanks for that reminder. Sorry, James.
No,
I got
okay.
very distracted from there then.
I was just saying that Behringer made a great DeepMind 12, like you were talking about. If they would have got rid of that screen and the menu diving and not tried to add a modern bells and whistles with a little bit of menu diving that you do. I mean, I can get along with it fine without menu diving, but there are some complaints. I think if they would have just made something very close to a Juno 106 or 60 or something, or go back to the drawing board and do that, they would sell so many off the shelves. Because right now, I mean, Juno 60s are going between $1,500, depending on their condition, and $3,000. I've seen them as high as $4,000 if they got the MIDI installed. If they came back and they made a Juno 60, they would fly off the shelves. They'd have to nail the sound. They'd have to nail it.
They do. That's the thing with it. They have to nail the sound. I mean, I think there was a nod to the Juno when they first mocking up the DeepMind in terms of it having essentially one oscillator. Yes, it has a second oscillator, but it's just a square. And the styling, but that's as far as it goes. And to me, it doesn't sound like a Juno because I've got a Juno myself, a Juno 6. And yes, there's a lots of things in the menus when it comes to the effects But then again, I like how they've done a complicated synth because there's always edit buttons for the relevant sections. So for the filter and
it's great.
so it's only 1 or 2 pages maximum. I mean, I make all my patches from the front panels of synths because I don't like using the software. The only caveat to that was the King Korg. I had to use the editor for that because you just could not get down enough. Because it was just like 2 lines on the screen to get into the virtual mod matrix, basically. But other than that, I do everything on the front panel because I want to know the synth inside out. I don't want to be reliant on software to do something for me. I want to be able to go to a synth and I can just do it. So the DM12, I think for a first synth for somebody, I would say, pay the little bit, because they're not a lot of money relatively. Because like I say, when I bought a Roland D10, it was £895 back in 1989, and which today would be about £1,500–1,600. So there wasn't anything much cheaper than that. Whereas now we're just, we've got so much choice to choose from.
And I think a lot of people, what I'm going. You're going to get this when I say this. When you bring a Juno 106 or a Juno 60 home, and you press those keys, there is no wow factor. You know, it's this is a workhorse machine that you're going to have to work at to get those sounds. Now the strings all sound good on them.
Oh yeah, it's a lot of it's the chorus. I mean, if you listen to a Sawtooth on a Juno without any chorus on, it's the most weediest thing you've ever heard of. But then again, polysynths, people seem to get, they'll buy a Moog One and they go, oh, the bass isn't great on it. It's a polysynth. They're made there for the voices to blend. If you got a Moog One with like 16 grandmother voices in it, it would sound absolutely terrible. It wouldn't blend.
It would.
So people seem to think that if you want good bass, good leads, go with a monosynth. If you want polyphonic sounds, you go with a poly. That's the reasons why. But it doesn't mean to say that a polysynth can't do bass. That's what that annoys me a little bit with people. They don't try.
So here's something that a lot of people don't know, and this is how it was explained to me. The Roland Phantom. People ask me, what's the difference between Zencore and ACB? And the biggest difference from how it was explained to me was that when you play an ACB, which I have the System 8 back here, there is a difference. Every time you press a key, I'm leaning forward because you can't see my keyboard, but every time you press a key on ACB, like a System 8, it is going to take each individual sound and it is going to mimic per key. This is how it's explained to me, okay?
Yeah.
So if you're holding down 4 keys, then that processor is processing 4 keys at a time, saying, what if somebody was playing analog and I wanted to hear 4 notes? Okay, so the bass, in my opinion, on the System 8 doesn't sound as clean as on the Phantom with Zencore, because the way Zencore processes sound is it's got a smart processor. That's why you got more polyphonic noises coming out of it. So if you press numerous keys on the Zencore synth, right, then the computer has an algorithm that says, wait a minute, we're not going to process each individual key he's pressing. We're going to mimic the sound as if you were playing a note or chord or whatever it is. Does that make sense how I'm explaining that?
Yeah, no, it does.
It's grouping them. Like, this is what it would sound like. So it uses a different mathematical algorithm, so there's less processing, so you get more polyphony.
Yeah, it's more ACB is essentially like software has been to. It's more about the component modeling. So the components of that are built into, say, making a discrete filter or something like that.
And very meticulous.
Very meticulous. Whereas, you've got it's more of a likeness, I'd say, with the Zencore. So that way they don't have, because it's a bit, I mean, you could probably think of it like MP3s to a degree. A lot of MP3, the frequencies are just gone because the compression gets rid of frequencies that it thinks you won't hear.
Right, the algorithm.
Yeah.
Yes.
So and then it saves space and it can process better. So yeah, I mean, but I haven't actually tried any of those phantoms or anything of those yet. But
Yeah, I was just mentioning that because you talked about, get a mono synth. For a digital synth, which a Phantom is all, VA digital,
yeah,
it's one of the best sounding bass I've ever heard. Can it compete with a Moog or something like that? It's not even in that league. I mean,
well, it's
two different-
probably because you told me it has like EQ and all that type of thing, so that
Yeah.
really helps. I mean, I say DM12 is great. It's great if you don't use the processing on board, like the EQ and the enhancers and stuff, which is what I concentrate a lot on, then it sounds flat as anything. It's not great. I spend a lot of time on the processing side. Not enough synthesizers, but processing as well as effects. Processing as in compression and EQ and things like that. They don't have them built into them. But
because a lot of people misconceive that, I'm going to put this Moog into my mix and I'm going to get this monster bass. Then they take it to their car and all they hear is just boom, boom, boom. And they wonder how that happened. Well, it's because, you didn't do any EQ, no compression. You just played that thick bass. And what the Phantom does is, it just sounds cleaner to me in a lot of stuff. I'm talking a lot about the Phantom. I'm in love with this machine.
Yeah, I mean, just to clarify, what I was saying, it was saying in general, if you want to do leads and bass, get a mono.
Correct.
Polyphonies, they're just in general terms. I'm not saying, polys can't do bass or can't do leads or anything like that.
Sure.
You know what I mean? I just want to make that clear because someone's saying, what about the peak? And the peak has got a huge amount of low end on it. Because it's got so many stages for gain. So yeah, you can, but generally that's how I see it in my mind. Is that if I want, like the oscillator, rather than saying it as in bass or lead, I'd say it as in the frequencies. What was it? I haven't got it here. It's at home. The grandmother. God, the low end on those oscillators are just incredible. But it's it's not polyphonic, so
No.
and they're a little bit. They're not exactly the same on the matriarch. In terms of the frequency range, they do sound slightly different. But then again, we're getting into corpse sniffing territory.
Cor, you did not say that.
Yes, corpse sniffing territory.
What did you think of that video?
What did I think of that video?
We'll tell them what we're talking about for those that don't know.
Yeah, that was obviously. You must be living under a rock if you don't know about the recent Behringer hoo-ha and everything like that. First of all, my views on it. I've got to be careful because obviously this is on video.
We got you now.
Yeah, that's the thing. It has made me think. Oh, I better self-censor. I'm a nobody when it comes to on here. I'm not like a Sonic State, but. I thought, I thought it was unnecessary. I didn't get it, first of all. It was like, I saw the video and I thought, what's this all about? Is this a new synth? It was like something popped up on because I subscribed to them and I thought, oh, something else that they're putting out. So I looked at it and I thought, what's this? I don't get it. And then everyone started to talk about it. I think the thing is with Behringer is you got a group of people who hate everything about them. You got a group who Behringer could come to your house and murder your family and they'd still think that he's brilliant.
Wow.
I think for me, I'd rather just concentrate on the instruments. I like the instruments. I've owned quite a lot of instruments and the whole thing about anti-Semitism, I didn't get that at all. First time I saw this picture on it was the nose. I just thought Pinocchio. I thought it was. Yeah. What do you reckon?
Yeah, your sound's breaking up a little bit, but I thought it was. I thought it was aimed at snobbery. Maybe that's how I took it. Without, but I don't know. I don't want to speak for the community out there that felt that it was aimed at them because I really don't know what their intentions were. I just don't understand the kind of criticism that people, like you spoke about, they Behringer can't do anything right. For years, people were screaming on YouTube videos like ours, bring back the old stuff, bring it back. They do it, and now people aren't happy.
I don't think it's necessarily the products. Maybe that it's not the products as such.
Well, people think they're ripping people off. Yeah,
that's the thing. It's the taking. I mean, I think it's great recreating synthesizers of the past. That the only way to get them is to buy them used with the high price, and then the worry of it being needing repair. We've all been there. We've been doing this a long time. I'm sitting looking at this Cheetah MS6 that I've got, and that cost me a lot of money to get fixed. So I don't want to go down that road anymore. So the great thing is that you have these. The only thing is some people have copying products that are out there already, and because it's low hanging fruit, isn't it? Really, but there it is. Some people just don't want anything to do with them as a company because they get into the whole ethics thing, and I don't know, ethics and synthesizers, excuse me, they don't really mix for me.
Yeah, I don't know about the other products that they make, if they're taking anything from anybody present day, but people got to understand that we have patents that run out for a reason, so people cannot create a monopoly. Can you imagine for a moment if there was, a patent on a medication like an antibiotic? How many people have copied? I mean, when I go get a prescription filled and they say, do you want the generic or do you want the guy that created it? And it's $1,000 for this. I'm making up crazy numbers here, or $50 for the generic. I'm going to buy the generic every time because I can't afford the real company who made it. You know what I mean? So right now...
Oh, no. I mean, for synthesizers, now is the best time it has ever been. Because as I was saying before, my first reel, if you like, apart from the DX7, was this Roland D10. But it cost me, of today's money, it would be around £1,600. So, and that's an entry-level synthesizer. There wasn't really, apart from, I mean, back then there was no internet or anything like that, so I didn't know what synths were out there or anything. All I know is I went down to a local store and they had some synths, and I liked the look of this lovely one here, and it went meow, and that was all. All wide.
Well, somebody on my channel criticized me for selling my Junos. You know why I sold the Junos? This is exclusive on your channel. They're not worth the money. There, I said it. A Juno 60 is not worth, in my opinion, $2,000. You can buy so much
it's like anything though that goes into, because it's always a reduction of pool of that type of synthesizer or any type of thing, whether it's an old camera or an old guitar or whatever. Like, I mean, some guitars, they're like, you're looking at £30,000-40,000 for a piece of wood, So that's how some people see it. But then others will justify because of the history of it and what bands used it and all that type of thing. So I guess that's where it is. But yeah, I mean, you could look at lots of things. If you just purely look at it at a component level of things, well, that only cost like a couple $100 in components. It's not worth the money, but if everything's reductionist, then I don't know.
I mean, if you're in it for the collection and you're in it for this nostalgia, I guess anything's worth what you're willing to pay for it.
I think it could be both, though. I think it could be you could buy something. I mean, like I've always wanted an Elka Synth X. I've always wanted one. I love the sound of this bandpass filter and the high pass down to the thingy. I mean, they're silly money. And, but I'd still love to buy one, but I wouldn't just put it in a glass case out there. I'd use it,
Right. So,
but I think it depends on the type of thing. It's like many people, my brothers, both my brothers play guitar and everything, and, they'll go, oh, look at this guitar, and it's like some original Les Paul that's like 30,000. What? I could I could go down the local B&Q and get a piece of wood and some strings, but it cost me like, $50. So, but it's not the thing though, is it?
I was able to sell the Juno 60, and I was able to buy the System 8, the JDXA, and the System 1M.
Oh, God, yeah. Oh, it can go.
Right. I mean, it's like you could fill a room up versus 1 synth, and it was like, why do I have it? And you got to admit, the Juno, the System 8 sounds great.
Oh, well, yeah, definitely. I think, though, and we have seen it with other synths that, say, for instance, Behringer have made, that the ones where, like, the 101 and stuff like that, the prices of the originals have come back down again. So I think if Behringer did do, like, a Juno 106 or a Juno 60 that was like for like, that $2,000 or whatever will come down.
Yeah,
it's just because
I did a video.
Yeah, it's just a lack of they aren't being made anymore. Some of them are dying, so it's an ever decreasing pool of this vintage equipment. And same as anything that's rare, it goes up.
Yeah, and my Juno 60 that I had, a few days after getting it, the chorus started messing up with me. And I didn't know how to fix it. I couldn't find anything online about fixing it. I'm sure it could have been done. But the upkeep on these old synthesizers is just a problem. And
I don't buy them anymore. I don't
either. Yeah.
I don't need to. And nobody, you don't need to buy them. There was a time, though, not even that long ago, probably, whatever. If you go back 6-7 years, what did we have? We had, like, the Prophet 8, as a polysynth. Prophet 12, I think, was 2013, I think. And there wasn't really much out there. Your only choice was virtual analog stuff, like Nords and so on, or buying vintage. So, and we did. We bought, we paid those prices and things like that. Whereas now, you don't have to.
And Behringer saved us from having to do a lot of the monosynth purchasing of yesteryear.
Oh yes, of course. Yeah, I mean, nothing against their products. Their products have been. I mean, I've got, like I said, I'll show some pictures of them in my CV corner.
I saw that Super 6.
Corner. Yeah, I mean, I've got the Odyssey. I did a video about that. I've got the VC340, which I did a video. I've got the K2 Pro 1. I did a track with that, including drums, the Model D. What else is on there? A Neutron. That forms the heart of my little modular thing. So I love the products. Maybe not the way that they do business, maybe, but what do I know? Some people don't care about that. It's like, they're giving us the prices that we want, the products that we want, and that's as far as it goes for them. Others maybe look a bit too much into the way that they do their thing. But, when it starts getting into things like talk about, anti-Semitism and all that nonsense, that's the outside world of, modern day politics coming into it. And I hate all that stuff.
I do. I stay away from that.
Synths my world. Please don't, bring politics into that. I don't want to.
I don't want to hear it. It's,
yes.
Yeah. Political correctness and all of that stuff.
It's in everywhere else. It's in.
Right,
I used to work in a corporation. It was all in there, and a lot of it is for good, or maybe some of the intention is good of it all, but some of it no. But anyway, that's sidetracking. So what time are we on now? Oh God! Oh, we're nearly at the end of the show.
We had too much fun.
Yes, and I probably only got to half of the questions anyway. If you're up for going a little bit longer, I am.
Yeah, fire it up.
Yeah. If people in the chat room want to carry on a little bit longer. In fact,
you guys are they still with us?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
Right, let me see what we've got at the moment. We've currently got about 80 people watching, so... So people in the chat room, if you've got any questions for our friend here, then by all means, ask away. Yeah, Stephen H says, personally not buying any more vintage synths. New choices are excellent lately. And you're totally right. But there's the thing, the choice is in your own pocket. If you don't like what a certain company does, don't buy the products. It's up, you know, that's as far. But then again, don't tell me what I should be having to do just because you may like or dislike what a company does. You know, it's up to me. What was it in? It was in a Clint Eastwood movie. I think it was Dirty Harry. It was like. Opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got one. So
everyone's got a.
Yeah. So I've always liked that. But yeah, going back to a little bit of you. I mean, we talked about what your favourite bit of kit of.
Somebody's asking me real quick here.
Okay.
Why the empty racks? I am redoing my studio, so you're going to see some empty spots right through here. And I've already got this filled up. This may move into the racks. The answer, I guess, is Synthesizer?
Synthesizer, yeah.
Synthesizer? Yeah. So I got a Moog 1 that needs to go back over here. It's just too big and heavy. The Moog 1 is a tank, isn't it, Jamie?
Oh, God, it is, mate. Yeah, it's the backbreaker. I think Tim Shoebridge has just bought one as well, and he said he's more or less done his back in trying to lift it in the car. It's the last thing to go from the studio. I keep looking down because it's right in front of me, and the box is just as heavy as it, isn't it?
Yes, it was 80 pounds delivered to my house. 80 pounds with the box. 80
the box
pounds
weighs a ton.
3 guys delivered it.
Yeah, no, it is. I mean, luckily with that, somebody has helped me from here to take that home, which is why I'm leaving it last. Because right now, what I've got my I've got System 8 in here that I need to take home. My Juno 6, and what have I got? Oh yeah, I've got a Moog. What's that? Subsequent, and I think that's about it. Yeah, and the Moog 1. That's all I need to take out of here at the moment in terms of synths, and apart from a couple of bits in racks. But the big thing I've got here is my desk, and I've got a unit here where all my rack mount gear is. And I am not looking, because it's all patch bays and everything. I'm not looking forward to pulling all that out. The amount of cables that are behind it. Hopefully this will be the last time. But I keep saying that.
I went through, I documented some of my move as much as I could, and I had to rent a big van and put all my synths. I was so scared I was going to break these synthesizers. Yeah. And the reason why we left is, one, we were renting, two, the neighborhood turned. You can move into a place that's really nice, and then overnight the dynamics can change. Yeah. The neighborhood got really bad, really quick. And we found ourselves, me and my family, and friends, we had to move everything within a few hours because no one knew that I had this equipment in this neighborhood.
Yeah.
And now they knew. They saw it going in a truck. And this isn't all my gear that you guys are seeing here. There's stuff off screen that you don't see. But we're looking maybe about $25,000 or more worth of gear, maybe even $30,000 total. And that's not something you want to leave laying around someplace in a neighborhood where people are actually taking notice. And we're standing around the street watching us move this stuff in there, figuring out, wow, I can hit a pawn shop, get a few $100. They don't care. They get a few $100 for this stuff.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, it's always the worry of all of us that are into all of this. It's easier not to think about it. I mean, I've had to spend a fair bit of insecurity and stuff like that. It's just, but because my house isn't necessarily the best sort of place to have a studio anyway. So, but anyway, somebody mentioned in the chat room Udo Super 6 News, and yes, Udo, I have got a video for that. So this was by Perfect Circuit. So there's a bit of the Udo Super 6. I could see you using something like this, James.
Yeah, I like that. I like the interface on that. Somebody asked me, Jazz asked me, how much is my electricity bill? You and I were talking about this, Jamie, yesterday. Jamie and I, we got carried away and talked for a couple hours yesterday.
Yeah.
And we talked about, I put, let me see if I can find it here. This is for Jazz is asking this. This is a little remote control that turns on and turns off all of my synths. So when I'm done for the day, or I come in for the day, I can just click those on. And what that does is answer the original question. No, it's not very high. But what Jamie and I like to do is we like to kill the power going to these machines because wall warts continue to be hot, don't they?
Yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah.
They're drawing power. And I'm paranoid. It probably means nothing. But I'm thinking if they're warm, something's happening. So I kill everything. But these things burn next to nothing, I would say, except for maybe the Moog 1. The Moog 1 is got that monster fan.
Yeah.
And does yours creak? Does your Moog 1
creak? Oh, God, yeah, it creaks. What's up
with that? For those of you that don't know, Moog 1 is loud.
It's like being on an old ship.
Yes,
it's the cold with it warming up and the wood expanding and contracting. That's what it is. I mean, over time it'll settle down and everything. But yeah, I mean, synthesizers don't really take a lot of electricity. They don't pull a lot. It's things like monitors, as in studio speakers, and amps. They're the things that take the big things. But the rest of it are pretty much trickles. I mean, that's one thing. I mean, look, here, when I've had my set up here, the building that I am in, it's run by the council, but it's for new business startups and things like that. So things like electricity, the bills were actually included within my rent. So it hasn't costed me anything extra on top of it. But I'll have that in my new place. So... But it's not going to be sort of a huge amount. But insurance has been the highest though for me in here because I use a company called Insure for Music in the UK, and that has not been cheap to.
Yeah, Belly Bat said, "Wow, that is a game changer remote where I can turn the power on." Yeah, I am a big sci-fi guy. I love sci-fi movies that are done. Even if they're cheesy, I like them.
I know. I'm watching an old show, a UK show at the moment. I've been watching a couple actually. I've been watching Blake 7, which was in the 80s, and it is the worst effects on the planet that you've seen. Yeah. I mean, even in the late 60s. I mean, we had like 2001, didn't we? And that just looks like a modern movie compared to this thing, Blake 7. Blake 7. But I've also been watching UFO, which was. A British thing in the 60s, late 60s, I think it was. 69, I think it might have been. But I love all the old sort of sci-fi stuff. That's how I kind of got into synth, really, before I knew what synth was. Yeah. So,
well, I watched the movie Planet of the Vampires. It's old. Check that one out. It's cheesy. I think it's one of the first zombie movies. I think they got it wrong with Night of the Living Dead. Planet of the Vampires is really bad. Dead people coming up and but they're aliens and it's like body snatchers, but it's so cheesy and sci-fi. You can see they're using fog to cover up the stage that they're filming on.
Yeah.
But getting back to the remote being a game changer, it is something about coming into your studio and going click and all of your lights come on and you hear the fans come on and it's like you're booting up a spaceship and you're about to go on a sonic journey. And you're about to take the listener with you, and hopefully they can connect to what you're doing. This is so real to me. This isn't about producing product out there and saying, hey, I wonder what the next person will listen to and buy. It just got to be a factory of music. I don't think that way at all. Every one of my tunes, good or bad, comes from my heart.
Yeah.
And, I'm having fun doing this. This is great. But you have more questions for me. We need to roll through those. I don't want to.
No, sure. I mean, a couple of people are talking about Blake 7. In fact, did you know that Aurak was a synthesizer? There was a copy of it at a synthesizer museum over in, where is it? It's in, not Nottingham. It'll come to me in a moment. But yeah, it was based on Synthesizer, ORAC, which was in Blake 7. But yeah, I've gone through all of those shows at the moment. But yeah, synthesizers in old TV shows and even shows like children's programs, because they didn't have a budget for an orchestra. They'd use like some dodgy synth. That's how I kind of got into it all. And fell in love with the sound of a synthesizer before I knew what one actually was. So,
yeah.
But yeah, going back to kind of questions, what do you like or dislike about the synth world in general?
What do I like and don't like?
Yeah.
Well, I've got a friend. I don't think I should mention who he is, but he's another YouTuber, and he gets trolled really bad. And I don't think people should get online and just be mean to other people because they don't like the way somebody's hair is done, or maybe they're wearing an earring they don't agree with, or they got a tattoo or a style. Trolls in the synth world, to me, aren't really synth drone family members. Family and people who care about each other don't mistreat people, in my opinion. This is my opinion. I could be totally wrong, but in my world, you know, I see it that way. So I don't like people that just want to be mean. They want to find something wrong. I think we should be more positive. We have enough negative around us, and I can find something wrong with anything if I try hard enough. I can just imagine it. So I think trolls are a very negative thing, and they are in the synth world, and they're out there.
They're everywhere, aren't they? I mean, end of the day, there's two sides to that. I mean, I get them. I've had people say, "Oh, I don't know what. I didn't know Johnny Vegas played synthesizers." Now, Johnny Vegas is a comedian in the UK. He's a big fella, you know. So I've had things. I think there's two things to it. You got to, you know, water off a duck's back. If you're out in the world and showing your face on YouTube, well, you're gonna get it. So you got to kind of. Yes, it'd be great if people were courteous and everything, but the ability to say what you want and nobody knows who you are, that's why that's why we have trolls.
Yeah, but I don't like it. You asked. I don't like it.
I don't like it. I don't like it. So, but you know, it's just the way it is. Some people are going to just say it for the sake of just saying it. But I just want to point out, actually, someone's saying in there, "War of the Worlds" was something.
Yeah, War of the Worlds. Yeah. And you know, and somebody wrote on here, you know,
I'm just showing here. It's to Jamie Ula. All the best, Jeff Wayne.
Cool. So Dunkey Duke, I think he says that's life. Yeah, I mean, I know, I accept that. I don't like it though. I mean, I don't like anybody being bullied, and I'm not talking about maybe a little joke like you do. I came up with a song called "Something Special," and somebody compared me to a German artist, which is funny because I am half German all the way. And I looked at it, I go, man, I do sound like this guy. And it wasn't really a troll, but I've been compared to others. And that's not so bad, people poking fun at you a little bit. But there are some people out there that are so viciously mean.
Oh, God, yeah. Yeah, they are.
That they can drive people to hurt themselves over it because they can't, you know. So that's the one part I don't like, is that you do have hijackers in this world.
Of course, you're right.
And then the thing that I do like the most about it, if you're asking me about the community, right? Are we asking about the community?
Of course, about the community.
Okay. The thing I like about it is that synth players are different than guitar players, and I've been in both worlds. Synth players are very close and supportive, and I think they're extremely intelligent. I'm not saying guitar players aren't. I don't want to get hammered on that because I'm a guitar player too. But synth players they're like informed. Maybe intelligent is the wrong word, but they're very informed. They're up to date. What they don't know, they want to find out. And they're just a different personality to be around. And it's refreshing. It's refreshing to be around people who actually get synthesis and want to share that, not in competition and not. I was a guitar player, and guitar players are show-offs.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Okay. Many are. Yeah.
Right.
I've got a family of them.
You know, right. So guitar players are show-offs. That's why they go without gear. And of course you have keytars players that probably want to be guitarists. But I think that's what I like the most about the synth world is that there's so many good people out there And I would just say to them, keep doing what you're doing, and forget about the people that are being trolls and stuff, because they're obviously, they've got deeper issues. So
well, that's the thing. Some of them, that's all they do, and it's up to them. If they want to live their life that way, that's up to them.
Sure.
I mean, we all, we're all human. And we can all watch a video, we can all get a bit disgruntled and go, oh, what's he talking about? He doesn't know what he's on about.
Right.
You get that. As soon as this is how I live my life, as soon as I get that little feeling in my chest there that's tightening up, like, I go, no, let it go. Because what's the worry? What's the point of, going, oh, he's got that and I haven't got it? The whole sort of envy element, it's not healthy. It's not healthy for you.
And the gentlemen I'm talking about, the trolls, they were getting downright personal and pointing out stuff about his personality and or his physical appearance and his dress and his tattoos.
I mean, do you know, I'd be much happier if I looked like a model, but I don't.
Sure.
So
sure.
So end of the day, we are what we are. So I don't really. I'm too old now. I couldn't give a monkeys now. What people say.
I think this guy's style was his style is what was in question.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. That's what I don't get too much of it. Not that I'm inviting.
Yeah, I don't have style, so I don't worry about it. I mean,
well, no, everybody does. No, well, it depends what you're talking about style, as in you have your own way of doing things, and you do on your show, on your videos. So that's why people will follow you, and so. But then again, we're not like massive YouTubers or any of that type of thing. I don't even really kind of see myself as a YouTuber, though I am technically. I guess I am. But we have to just accept it, don't we?
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on. I'm going to play some. Where is it? I'm on the wrong screen. I'm going to play some jams that I found. I think we'll call it a day when we hit 8 o'clock UK time. So, someone actually did mention I should, before I play this video, about Behringer with their DAW, and I know they kind of asked a question a while ago about, oh, do you want us to do a DAW? But it looks like they've announced that they are going to do it with their own software instruments, but also links to, well, just create their own DAW. I mean, does the world need another DAW, do you think?
You're asking me? I have no interest. I have Reaper, which is not a free DAW. That's one of the biggest arguments I see. I was going through the comments of Behringer today, and that came up again. It's not free. You should pay for it. And I do pay for it, by the way. Everybody know I pay for it. You pay a one-time fee. At least I did. I've got the 5.0 version. Love it. I don't even think I need to upgrade. For me, a DAW is just recording stuff, throwing in some compressors and some EQ, maybe some effects. I do almost everything after. I don't need to change DAWs. I would recommend anybody, unless you need to change your DAW, don't do it, because mine's perfect for, I know my DAW. I'm happy with it. I can do anything in it I want to do. Maybe it's faster than another DAW, but I got to learn that. I don't want to learn that. I have no interest. I tried changing DAWs before, and the Reaper 5.0 series, I absolutely zero interest. Do you think that a company can have too many irons in the fire? I mean, Yamaha makes motorcycles, and you get what I'm saying.
No, you're right.
They make home synthesizers. They make pro synthesizers. Do you think at the end of the day a company could have too much?
I think it could do, really. I mean, it depends. I mean, if those of you who've got Behringer products, the firmware process hasn't exactly been very good. So hopefully their coders that they get for the DAW are going to be. I mean, if they're just going to copy Cubase or copy Ableton, then why bother going to something else? Because they do that very, very well. If they're offering something different, then I mean, why not? I mean, it's a choice down to you if you want to use it or not. I'm the same with you. I mean, I started on Cubase. In fact, I didn't. I started on Gadget Sequencer 1, which was way all the way back. And in the studio, they had Steinberg Pro 16, I think it was.
Yeah.
So that's a long, long time ago. And I stuck with Cubase. And then when I went over to Mac, that was probably around 2008, something like that.
Yeah.
Then I went on to Logic. And I've just been with Logic since. I can't do Ableton. I can't get my head around it. So I give up on it.
I think if I was sitting at the board meeting of Behringer and I had to say so, I had an input, I think what I would say to them is, let's work on bringing synthesis into the future like sequential Dave Smith is doing. Dave Smith is very innovative, and let's bring the synthesizers into, you know, the future here, rather than take 18 months is what they said. Behringer stated it's going to take 18 months to do this DAW. Well, I used to be a professional software designer, if I may say so. I know what it takes to make software, and you own it. It's never done, because hardware changes in computers, and so does software and operating systems. And you got to keep moving, and they're giving this away for free. So if I could say one thing to Behringer, which it seems like they've already made up their mind, I would have been at that table saying, no, let's use that resource of people to give the people what they want. They want synthesizers. We got other companies that are handling the DAW just fine. We got enough choices out there. We don't need another variety, in my opinion, but I could be totally wrong. I haven't tried every single DAW out there. But for a synth company, electronic component company, to want to get into software, they're going to find out real fast, with my experience in background of computer programming on a professional level and maintaining these things, it's a nightmare.
Right,
it's a nightmare. And
it's an interesting point. That, I mean, obviously they have to support software with things like editors and all the other different companies that they own. But
all the plugins that come out have to be compatible.
I mean, the thing is, people are asking for classic synths to be remade. Are they asking for newer DAWs? I don't think so.
I think it's a mistake. I love Behringer, what they're doing. I love what Behringer is doing. I think that the DAW won't last. I think by the time they get it out there and they find the reception, because 18 months from today, we don't even know where we're going to be in the world. I mean, there's a lot of crazy things happening, and people change their mind all the time.
Yeah.
So,
we might have all turned to zombies because of this coronavirus. Who knows what's going on?
Or synth drones. We could all become synth drones.
We could all become synth drones, yeah.
I'll assimilate everybody.
And resistance will definitely be futile.
That's right.
Okay, then. So moving on to some kind of jams. That was the thing I was going to do. This was one that I found earlier on today. It's from, I don't know the guy's, I'm going to really butcher his name. Bernd Breuning, I think his name is. But it's his first jam that he's done, first video. And I thought it was really good. I thought it was quite musical. It didn't just stay in one key or one note. Actually, that little change there reminded me of Fade to Grey then by Visage. But yeah, there's a bit of Bernd Breuning. So he's using a various different sort of synths there. What can I suppose? He's got a Jupiter 6 there. Oh, wow. He's got loads of stereo. He's got an O behind there. He's got Mini Moog. He's got some other Roland things there. Is that the Jupiter 4? Not sure. Fair bit of gear there. Some of the old stuff. They sound great, though. Did you get a chance to have a listen to this, James?
Yeah, I did. I think it's really well put together, and it's got a really good punchy sound, especially coming over YouTube. Sound really good.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. No, no, I was really impressed with that. Right, what other things are there? Yeah, vintage synth. I think I played that one. Yeah, a bit of vintage synth. Again, I have a section called vintage synths, but I always end up just playing retro sounds videos. So it's going to be another one. No, it can't be that one. No, sorry, I'm having a conversation with myself here. I did set up something. Here it is. Yay. So this one, the Casio CZ101 phase distortion, which was Casio's attempt, I believe, at doing something like FM. I had a CZ5000 that I got for £35 from a car boot sale because my ex-missus at the time, her mother used to do car boot sales. They're like garage sales, but we in the UK we find fields where everyone gets together and puts out a table and we sell stuff. Bizarre thing, but there was one of these, and I told her to buy it, and it was a Casio CZ5000. I think I sold it for like 300 quid. That's the only really good find I've had. But anyway, here's the basic one, and he's done like this multi-track demo. Sounds very Garen Newman-esque with that kind of stringed lead sound that he's got there. But
Yeah.
have you ever had of these Casio ones, these types of CZ phase distortion synths in the past?
I did own one for a little while. Yeah, they're awesome sounding, and that's retro synths, right?
It is, yeah, retro sound, yeah.
Retro sounds, that's right. He's awesome.
Oh, he's great. He's great, yeah.
The best demos out there for the vintage synthesizers. He's the reason why I got into the mono poly and spent all that money on one, and because his demos are just great. They do sound good. Yeah, I don't think he makes a synthesizer sound bad ever. I don't think he's capable of doing that. I think that's his only limitation is that he can't make them sound bad. Guy's great. So I got that thing in my hands, and it was like, it sounds like a Casio. Oh my god! So, but he did a really great job, and he does a fantastic job. That's another thing to be aware of is that you see these pros out there playing old Casio. He's like, wow, I'll get that, and I'll do the same thing. You might not.
No, exactly. Well, that's the thing. You can, it depends on. There's a skill when it comes to all this. I mean, like, I make patches, and some people go, well, why do I need to buy patches? And well, if you can make your own, great. In fact, I do lots of videos, tutorials of how to make your own. That's great.
Yeah.
But, excuse me, I have my own certain style, if you like, of how I make sounds and the types of sounds. I'm very much into pads and motion sounds and things that change over time.
Yeah, me too.
And that's why people buy my thing for a style. And we all have our own style, whether it's to do with making sounds or making music or anything like that. So, if you've got someone who's very skilled at doing music, they will make a cheap synth sound out of this world, compared to someone who's just started. So a lot of it isn't really necessarily down to the equipment. It's down to the person sort of using it, really. But in terms of like, going back to some of the kind of questions, I mean, you do a lot of videos. What's the hardest part about it that you find doing YouTube and everything, and what people may not realize?
Okay, that's a good question, and I think I have a great answer for that. So I try to do all of my videos when I'm vlogging in one take. Why? Because I think that if I got something to say, it should be done in one take. Now, there's times you get tongue twisted. I know you must go there.
Oh God,
sometimes.
yeah, I do. I mean, the amount of I swear at myself and everything. Yeah, God, there's loads of that.
I did a couple of videos last week about doing outtakes, bloopers at the end. There are times that I do have to edit the video, but I think the hardest part is just talking into the camera and realizing that you're not talking to yourself. You're talking to a group of people, and you want to be you. If it's rehearsed or, because there's no cue cards for me, I'm like right off the cuff. I think that's actually harder. It's less work of prepping, but it's much harder to deliver. It's almost like a newscast, but even they have teleprompters.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. I mean, if I haven't done a review video for a long time now, but if I was doing them, I have some bullet points just to remind me, and then it'll just be off the top of my head, and then but it is all cut. It's not in one take. There's no way I'll be able to do it in one take, and I screw up a lot. Getting tongue-tied like I just did then, and loads of different sort of. I'll swear at myself, or something, and they take a long time. And I have thought about just doing videos where I'm just talking, just to the camera, just for 10 minutes, and then put it up. But they do take a long time, reviews. But I don't know. I mean, I tried. I did it. How many times I did? I think I did it twice.
Well, reviews are harder. Yeah,
your reviews are harder.
Yeah,
and I tried some of those, those clickbaity thumbnails, because I saw one video off one guy, and he did one, and the next day his views shot up, and I thought, I wonder. So I pulled a silly face to the camera, did it as a thumbnail, and it's probably the most highest video watched. And I don't get it. I feel like an idiot taking pictures of myself and doing all. I feel a complete idiot doing it. I hate, I'm doing editing videos. I get sick to death. In fact, the thumbnail to this synth show used to be my face, and I got sick of seeing my face. I've changed it now to synth show. So, but I'm certainly not vain.
Yeah.
So you make them really, really quick. Then really, it's kind of off the top of your head, and that kind of keeps it more real. Then.
If you are being real, you know what you're going to say because you don't have to think about it because you're. I think what it is like you said, reviews were really hard because the review always comes from another source, and that's information that you have to learn first. But I go by experience, so I'm a vlogger about my experience and my feelings about how I feel about stuff. So there are times when I'll put a video up and somebody will say, oh, this is clickbait. He doesn't have the synth in front of him. So what if I don't have the synth in front of him? I can still talk about it.
It's your views on it. And at the end of the day, nobody wants to spend time doing videos for nobody to watch. Why would you do it?
Yeah, when I actually do, it's crazy. People will get on there and say, you need to do more demos. I do the demos and nobody watches those. It's not my audience.
It's like, I do tutorial videos, which is teaching people how to make sounds from scratch. Hardly anyone watches them.
But they want to hear you talk about it, though, right?
Yeah, no, my biggest ones have been reviews.
Yeah,
they're the ones.
That works, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't do the only reason why I did reviews was people were asking me, because I've done sounds for so many synths now, they're asking me which synth is better, this one or that one. So I thought, and I was getting that multiple times every day, and I thought, you know what, if I did reviews and then did a scoring system, maybe that will help combat it. And it actually has, but that was my whole point of doing reviews, was just reviewing the synths I made sounds.
You just made me think of something. If people want reviews and they want to get, if you break your arm, you go to a surgeon and have them put it back together again. I think Loop Pop makes some of the best reviews that are clinical. So, if you
clinical.
Yes, you want to go to the emergency room, go to Loop Pop. He'll put the whole cast on your arm, put pins in your bones if you need it. That's really great. If you are stressed about your broken arm, come see me. I'll give you the emotional side of synthesizers. I'll tell you how you feel.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Yeah, no, it does. It does. I
But
mean,
you need
like,
that balance. You need that, don't you?
I mean, I like loop hop because, like you say, it is clinical, and you get it's a video manual, and so in that type of style, he's the best.
Yeah.
In terms of watching, and for sound, I love Daniel Fisher. Daniel Fisher's videos of Sweetwater. He just goes and gets lost in sound.
He does.
And I love that because you can see it's real passion that he has for synthesizers and sound as a whole. They're my two top ones that I like to do. But anyway, we've come past to 8 o'clock, and it's the end of the show, unfortunately. So we've been talking for a good couple of hours. So guys, just to go in the chat room, there was a quick question. Jamie question asks for your guest, what will be the next gear to fill his keyboard stand behind him? What have you got your eye on next? New synths?
Well, now understand, I've got synthesizers sitting in the secondary living room in my house. So some of that's going to be filled up already. So I don't know if I'm going to be buying any more gear. I've got a whole rack full here. I mean, how much
you've
more
got
gear?
Yeah, how much more is there? So much. You get into overlap territory.
Yeah. If I was going to get one, I'm sorry. If I was
go ahead. If you were going to,
I'm gassing a little bit for the Novation Summit only because it's so unique. I probably won't pull the trigger on it, but it is a beautiful sounding synth for what it is, and it does kind of give me gas. I got to fight that off. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, it does. It is a very good synthesizer. I've got a synth coming next week. Tuesday, I think it is, and it's a B stock, and it's a MFB Synth Pro, which is a desktop 8-voice analog synth, and there's nothing mega special about it, though. And the demos haven't been great so far. There was one that was all right recently, but there's something about it that I kind of like. So it was on B stock, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to jump for that, so I did. So that'll be coming. But other than that, I probably won't bother with things like Super 6. I've got so many. Once the move's gone, I've got to plan on some of the synths that I'm working on. And someone's been in question: am I going to any more Moog 1 patches? And there will be more Moog 1. I'm going to be working on that. I'm working on something at the moment, and then after that, it will be the Moog 1. Also, things like the Argon and the Hydrasynth and stuff like that. They're the ones in the future that I'm going to be working on. So, yeah, I've kind of more or less finished up with the last bank of patches. Actually, I better promote something of myself. I mean, that's the whole point of having a show, I suppose. Nah. Yeah, you can, if you've got a DeepMind 12, then you can check out, I did Deeper Volume 1, which is 128 patches, plus another bonus bank of another 128 patches. So there's 256 in there. And as usual, there's 4 videos showing all the patches. So you can always hear before you buy. So there's that. And I think we're going to play out now, go back to Brian's video. And we're going to play out the show. So again, thank you very much, James, for joining the show, and it's been a pleasure having you on.
Hey, thanks for having me.
We could have carried on for and hopefully we'll have you back on in the show and another time. And if you decide to do a live stream or something, then by all means ask me. I'd be happy to come along.
Might hit you up on that.
Yeah. Well, why not? Why not do a live stream? The only problem with doing a live stream is picking the right time.
Yes.
That's the only thing to do it. But yeah, again, so thank you very much, everybody in the chat room. I know it's been an extended show this week. So next week, I better slap it back over to myself. Next week, I should be out of here now. Next week, so I'll be coming from my office, my new place, but I might be just doing it on my own because I'm not too sure about the internet connection. So rather than loads of guests on and then it all crapping out, you know what? If you've been watching these live streams of mine, you know that in the past sort of been a bit ropey. So it'll probably just be myself and the people in the chat room next week. So you'll be my guests. And to play out, I'm going to play out the whole of Brian's video.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, James. Thanks very much.